Hey guys, it's Team TapTap, and today we're starting a new series after a really long break of playing TapTap Heroes on Hero Review is what we're going to call it. And recently I started to get back into the game after not seriously playing for about a year or so, maybe even longer than that. And as I'm learning the game again, I've started to go through and relearn all the heroes, just reading through their skills, trying to compare them with the meta right now and things like that. And I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe pair this up with a video series, just hero review series. So I'm going to go through each hero in a separate video as I relearn them myself. So if I miss anything, let me know. This will be pretty basic. I mean, I'll try to add some advanced topics to it, but for the most part, this is a basic video. And if you want to skip the basic stuff, I'll put timestamps in the description so you're able to just skip to the part you might be more interested in. But let's go ahead and start. And the first hero is going to be Valkyrie. This video is focused on the warrior Valkyrie from the Alliance faction. She's one of the original top heroes that I can think of when the developers decided to start making OP heroes, you know? So I think she would be really good. She's still relevant in today's meta, so this is like a hero I have experience with, but is also still being used, so I think it's a really good starting point for me. Let's go ahead and get started, because I want to keep this video short, you know? We're going to go through and talk about what I like to do this when I review any hero. The first thing I like to do is look at their stats. And Valkyrie's stats are actually pretty impressive. These stats are from her 10-star version. You can see them in the gallery, but it's amplified with all the passives, so you don't have to worry about adding that in. And below that, the number, you'll see the rank compared to every other 10-star hero in that in the game. So her HP ranks at 3rd with 160,000. So this is really good. As a warrior, she's going to have high HP. That's just how that class works. And her attack is pretty low at 17th, you might think, but warriors don't usually have high attack, so this is still pretty good. Her defense is 7th with 19. This is really high defense, so we'll talk about it later as to why it's good. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to go... one mistake I did in a previous video is kind of like tell you the strengths and weaknesses as I read through the stats and the skills. This time I'm just going to read them to you. We'll look at it, and then afterwards I'll kind of expand on, hey, this is why this is good, this is why this is bad. Her speed is 28th at 1200. And then let's go ahead. That's it for the stats. 3rd, 17th, 7th, 28th. Just keep that in your mind as you're reading through her skills and things like that, because it's sometimes hard to tell, you know, like, oh wow, this person does 300% of their attack, but then you find out it's like, wait, their attack stat's really low. So keep that in mind. It does matter. Let's go ahead and move on to Guild Tech. For Guild Tech, she is a warrior, and I'll show this in here. So you'll notice that warriors, just like everyone else, get skill damage, which is great. They get dodge, which isn't like everyone else. You'll notice that only three classes get dodge. This is important because warriors tend to be frontliners, so they get basic attack damage. So dodge is a really good stat. They also get crit rate, they get attack, and then they get HP, just like everyone else. So the one thing I really want to point out that's important in Guild Tech is the fact that they miss out on hit rate. Hit rate is obviously really good now, like towards the late game. Early game you may not think hit rate's that great, but towards the late game hit rate is very important, just because so many people, their tanks are running dodge runes and they have innate dodge. Like if a lot of people are running cleric, like Phoenix tank, that's 30% dodge on top of a dodge rune. That's a lot of dodge. Or they're running warrior tank, like, you know, MK or something, or Monkey King, and that's even more dodge. So this is a downside to warriors. They have no hit rate. I said I wasn't going to talk about strength and weaknesses, but I'll just point this out real quick. The plus to this, though, is in their equipment. we get another 10% hit rate. So that helps a lot. This was a recent update. I don't remember that being there before. Someone informed me that they've added it, and that's actually a good bonus. Really good. It helps warriors a lot, especially Valkyrie. All right, now we talked about stats. We've talked about guild tech. Let's just go ahead and talk about her skills. And I just want to read through the skills first. We're definitely going to go through the skills again later. Alright, so Valkyrie's skill, her main skill is Gungnir 3. This is at 14 star, of course. Her active skill deals damage 220% of attack to all enemies, and an extra 60% of attack to those targets for 5 rounds. So the same all enemies again. And it reduces the target's attack by 20% for 3 rounds. This can't be stacked. And their crit rate by 20% for 3 rounds, and also can't be stacked. And then this is an important point. The skill cannot miss, which is not true for everybody. So this is important part of that skill. Let's move on to the next. The first passive is just a stat bonus. It's really, really good. I did mention that it's already included in those stats I showed before, but this really helps her, right? It's like they're all good. They didn't give her a useless stat, right? I will mention as well that defense goes up 7, but if you have the skin, it goes up another 3, making her really tanky. Let's go ahead and move to the third skill, Runes Magic. I think it's misspelled. Maybe it's supposed to be Runes. I don't know. But Runes Magic. Basic attacks deal extra damage, 50% of attack, and drain skill damage, 20% of attack from the target. This is huge. Removing 20% skill damage from the enemy, gaining 20% for yourself. This is really underrated skill, and I'll definitely talk about it later. So the last passive is probably her signature move, in my opinion. This is what I think of. When I think of Valkyrie, I think fourth passive. This is like what the devs kind of like had in mind for her, is this constantly stacking, what's the word? Like growing hero during the fight. Like she just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Passive skill, each hero dies, heals the ally with the least amount of HP. 300% of attack, which is really good. And then self-speed is increased by 10, and skill damage increased by 40 for every hero that dies, guys. This isn't just one time. Every time something dies, she gets this. Speed buff for herself, skill damage buff for herself, and this can stack. You're talking like 100 speed, like 400% skill damage. It can get really high. And then she's constantly healing the lowest health. So it's like, it's good. What's the word? It's like it's not just a random heal. Sometimes I look at clerics and they're just like healing randomly. This is better. It's healing the low health, critical health ally. Okay, those were the skills. We've done reviewed them, but we haven't really talked about them too much. And before we talk about that, I wanted to mention her talents. So she's an alliance hero, so she's gonna have the basic alliance talents. Let's look at talent tree. At tier 1, she's gonna get 20% attack, 30 speed, or 30 HP. Almost always I see people go the attack, but there are cases where you'll use speed, and we'll talk about that. And this is good, obviously. Attack is great. Good, one of the best stats. Then she gets 20% true damage or 20% damage reduction. Both good options. And then tier 3, she's going to have the option for speed 70 for 3 rounds. This is like a huge buff to Alliance. There's like very few ways that you can get speed on a hero reliably. So the fact that they have an option to get 70, which is not small, guys. 70 is a lot of speed. In a meta where speed is so important. I mean, in a game, sorry, where speed is so important. Just because of crowd control, damage. Like, just speed is... by the way, speed in this game, for those of you who aren't, like, experienced players, it's the order in which your heroes go. So the faster your speed, the earlier their turn order is, and in cases for some heroes that are either really squishy and they don't survive a full round of attacks, or where they like have an ability that they have to get off to be useful, this is a really good talent. And then I hyped up that talent a lot, but this one's also great. It's like it's in a similar vein where they like need to be able to cast their skill. the unbending determination allows the hero to remove all control, all damage. They get a huge damage reduction buff and a control resistant buff for 1 round at 30, when they drop below 35% HP, and this means like they're guaranteed in that round to do something. The round that they drop below 35% HP. So this is also really useful. I'd say this is more useful in a certain scenario, which I'll talk about later. But I just wanted to point these out first, and I'll bring all this stuff up again when I go over the strengths, which is actually right now. Okay, so I've labeled 5 strengths that varying from like most important to least important. Let's go ahead and start with the most important strength that Valkyrie has, and that's damage, and like damage over time as well. She's a great damaging ability. I remember when Valkyrie first came out, I was like, like not when she first came out, when people were like actually using her, you would see some fights where she would just be doing like 90% of your total team's damage, and also healing, but I'll bring that up later. And it's just really good. And not only that, if she's able to stay alive, which they've like really geared her towards staying alive, she just gets stronger, faster, more skill damage, and it's just a really interesting hero. I really like this like concept of like a stacking hero. Think of like Nasus from League of Legends, if you guys have ever played that. It's like, yeah, he starts off pretty weak early, although Valkyrie doesn't really, but over time they just become this monster, you know, like really crazy stacking damage. So with her good attack stat, 17th for a warrior, and all this crazy skill damage buff she gets, she does good damage. She hits everyone. It's undodgeable. Like that's huge. All right, especially early on. Now most heroes come with undodgeable skills, I feel like, but early on no one really had this like undodgeable mechanic except for heaven heroes. I feel like they like to give like those top tier heaven heroes undodgeable, but Valkyrie has it as an alliance hero, so it's really good. Also, with this damage, she's stacking herself. She's also draining it from the enemy, which is really OP. But this is actually the next step. So let's go ahead and talk about her second highest strength outside of just damage, is her debuffing ability. Like, because her damage is so high, people seem to forget this, but she's a really good debuffer. And let's go ahead and talk about her first skill. So she hits all enemies, which is really good for debuffing heroes, right? You don't want heroes to attack just one guy. You want the hero to apply this debuff to the entire enemy team. And in our case, for Valkyrie, she reduces the attack of everyone by 20% for 3 rounds, and their crit rate by 20%. Crit rate's not as important, obviously, but attack is huge. Think about it this way, guys. Attack, 20%. That's almost better than true damage reduction, because you're also affecting clerics' heals. Everything scales off attack in this game, or almost everything scales off straight attack in this game. So the fact that you're able to apply a 20% attack reduction to the entire enemy team, that's like, all right, I'm taking 20% less damage from the whole team. They're taking 20% less crit chance from the whole enemy team, and you're doing really good damage. So, and it can't miss. Can't miss. I should always mention that. It can't miss. That's really good. Well, I'm not done with her debuff ability. People tend to forget how OP this is. I think this is her most underrated skill, for sure. Of all her skills, this is the most, like, overseen. Like, people don't remember it, I feel like. And basic attacks deal extra damage, 50% of attack, and drain skill damage, 20% of attack from the targets. So if you're not running an energy artifact on her, this is actually makes her useful. Sometimes I see heroes, I'm like, all right, I have to put Tear of the Goddess on them, because without it, their basic attack does nothing. Like, I'm looking at just a basic attack that's there to gain energy, and that's it, because it's not going to do that much damage. It's only single target, and it doesn't apply any debuffs or buffs to themselves. Valkyrie is not in that bracket. Her basic attacks drain skill damage, and you have to remember, she's going to basic attack tanks, and there are certain heroes that are being used right now that in the tank position do really good damage. They may even be the main damage dealer. Valkyrie is the counter to that, but she has to go first, and we'll talk about that later. So those are her main debuffing abilities I wanted to bring up. Don't underestimate the attack one. It's like it's a huge boost to a fight. Um, Her third strength I could think of was her just survivability. Like this should have probably been moved to fourth most important, but I really think that with the alliance unbending determination skill and her really high defense stat, remember it's 22 with the skin. That's that's really high. Like that's defense doesn't seem like the most important stat, but you can't deny it does help survivability. So high HP, third highest in the game, really high defense, especially with the skin. That's really good um, survivability. And she gets dodge from the warrior tech, so don't forget that. All right, let's go to the fourth skill, which I've been bringing up, or fourth most important strength. I've been bringing it up occasionally. It's her It's her healing ability. Like each hero dies, heals the ally with the least amount of HP for 300% of their attack. This 300% of her attack is really good because her attack stat is so high. Also, it's how do I say this? It's what makes Valkyrie. Okay, so I don't know if you watch the battles. Sometimes you'll notice that the battle always comes down to this like 2v3 scenario or like maybe even a 2v4 scenario, and you're almost like, all right, well the 4 is gonna win, the 3 is gonna win. Valkyrie is there for when like those cases where the 2 can win or the 1 can win. You know, like the underdogs can win. That's because two things. One, this skill here where like she's been stacking her speed and her skill damage. Usually it's like later on in the rounds you have 2 people left alive. But also if she kills one guy with the skill, boom, she heals back a ton of health. Then it's like, oh, this is not good. It's because now she's like also gonna survive an extra round. She's probably gonna trigger her third alliance skill and talent, and then she's like kills another one. Now it's a 2v1, and now she's healed up again. You know, she starts just like whittling you down if you can't burst her. Um, and that's what this skill does. Just keeps healing herself. This is assuming she's the only one left alive. In a case where she's not the only one left alive, she's still healing a low health member, which can turn the battle. And this is good heal. Good sized heal. Another thing I want to mention about her like support ability here isn't just healing, isn't just that she heals like when someone dies. She can do this while CC'd. I think people forget, like, because CC is so prevalent in the meta and so many people rely on like casting a skill or auto attacking to do damage, or to support and heal as well, that these things were like, you know, triggering at like lower health or triggering when something happens in the fight are really, really good just because they can be CC'd and crowd controlled. I shouldn't use the basically they can be frozen, petrified, stunned, and still trigger this effect. So that's worth pointing out as a strength, I think. And the last strength, this took a long time, sorry, but the last strength I want to talk about is this. Where is it? Deals damage 60% of attack to the targets for 5 rounds. This is not a bleed or a burn or a poison, so any sort of resistance to that doesn't do anything. This is just a flat 60% of attack to everybody over 5 rounds, so it's going to last the whole time. This is good damage, guys. Like, don't, like, split on, like, 60% doesn't sound a lot, but when you're hitting 6 people with it and it's lasting forever, it stacks up. This is just something that gets overlooked. It's really, really strong. Also, I think Watchman is coming with this like abnormal damage or status damage mitigation. I don't know if this applies to that. If it doesn't, that's another strength. So let's go ahead and move to her weaknesses. Those are her strengths. Her weaknesses, I'll start with the like least important weakness. It's that her basic attack doesn't hit as often as it should because she's missing out on that. What's it called? Oh, because she's missing out on the guild tech. The guild tech is lacking hit rate, so her basic attack misses. This is just, I already mentioned why it's bad. There's so many heroes with dodge. This has got to be considered a weakness. But like I said, the equipment helps, gives her 10%, so it's not as bad as it could have been. Now it's her main weakness. Her main weakness is that she's slow. And not just slow like like, it's not just that she's slow, it's that if you want to make her fast, that you're going to reduce a lot of her strengths, which is mainly her damage. So like I was saying earlier, the Alliance T3 is giving you a ton of speed, and the reason that's so good is because she is so slow, you have the option. So it's kind of a weakness and a strength at the same time. The fact that you have an option to go faster is really good. But it's going to be at a cost, of course. You're going to miss out on the talent, and you're going to miss out on, like, just being able to do a lot more damage. That's her main weakness. And I could go on with that, but I think you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about, and I'm going to bring it up in the next section. So the next section, and one that I don't want to spend too much time on, but I really like, it's called, like, her team role. Like, what is her role in your team comp? And I think Valkyrie can fit two roles. The main one, which a lot of people just assume is the best way to run her, and it might be, is as a primary damage dealer. So this means you're going to go full attack stats, attack rune, Tear of the Goddess, or Ragnarok, depending on if you have one or the other, and who else you have on your team. And you're going to build her with, like, this unbending determination, like true damage, attack, and you're just going to do a ton of damage. And her heals are going to be huge, right? So that's like kind of how this one is built, right? The Valkyrie I'm currently looking at, right? It's built, I think this is an attack rune. Yep, attack rune, Tear of the Goddess. This is a huge attack stat. She's going to be hitting for a ton of damage, and she's going to be healing a lot. This is one way to build her, and you're going to see really good numbers. The other way, which is starting, I think, to become more popular, is like as more of the debuff role. Remember all those in the strength sections I talked about how she can do all this debuffing with her -% attack and crit rate, and then the, like, skill damage drain. Basically, you're gonna run an energy artifact with her, and you're gonna go, like, full speed, and you're just gonna, like, make sure the enemy team has 20% less attack always, right? You're just gonna always make sure they're debuffed. And Valkyrie, it doesn't sound that good, like, oh, but Valkyrie is so good at these other things, but she can still do okay damage with that, right? It's not going to be, like, amazing. It's not going to be S tier damage, but she can still do decent damage and fulfill this debuff role. And I think in certain teams where you have, like, a Kurt, or you have a Ball, or you have or like a Temis, or one of those mages that just does insane damage and you don't need Valkyrie's damage, then this is a really good role for her. And obviously the last role, I said there were two, but the third one is just a combination of these two, like maybe you do half and half. You can do this, and I'm going to show you how you can do this half and half style, and I'm going to need this right here. So the way to do it is with speed. You're going to have to look at your server, who do you fight most in the arena, who do you fight most in honor, like try to figure out what the enemy team's using, and max your Valkyrie to the, I should quote this in the video, but the lowest amount of speed necessary to do the maximum amount of damage. And I'll caveat that by the lowest amount of speed is, like, fast enough not to get CC'd by the enemy team. So think of like all those heroes that like a Freya Petrify or something like that. If you can outspeed that, which you can with Valkyrie if you set it the right way, just make sure you look at what their speed stat is and then beat it. And this is what this graph here is for, or this table. So this shows all the combinations of attack rune or speed rune with the T1 speed talent, the talent speed or the attack speed, and the talent 3 speed or talent 3 not speed. So you'll see at the lowest with, like, no speed, straight attack, that's like the one I'm showing you right now, is 1365. If you switch this to the fastest possible Valkyrie, you can have 1535. This is without the familiar, by the way. So this is faster than, like, almost everyone except for clerics. So look into this, try and figure out exactly what the best number is for you where you can maximize attack and speed. I can't tell you what that is because every server is different, right? But that's how you would build that third role and be probably the most efficient with your Valkyrie. Most people are going to play it safe. They probably fight way too many people, and they're just going to go with full attack or full speed. But there are options, right, to maximize efficiency, and the top players will do that. Let's go ahead and finish the video with two small sections. One is Valk's Synergies. I think that she synergizes well with everybody, but specifically heroes that can boost your speed or boost your attack. So um, we're talking like Ultima, really good. Also with the faction bonus now for having this similar faction in the aura, Ultima is good because he's also Alliance, or it's also Alliance. I don't know what Ultima is. Um, but really, this section is kind of lame because in TapTap there really aren't any synergies. It's mostly like um, best heroes go with best heroes. Like they don't really try to make an effort to like put these two types of heroes together unless you're building a full team. Um, by the way, this is my new puppy. Her name is JoJo, and she's a menace, but she's cute. Hey, don't bite me. This is what I'm talking about. All right, let's talk about counters to Valkyrie. Um, the only counter I could really think of is someone who does burst damage and counters her via faction. You know, like the extra damage boost and attack or hit rate boost, and that's gonna be like Detlef. He's really strong at killing single target damage dealers, or he's a really strong single target damage dealer, and he kills Alliance really well. So other than that though, there's not really any counters to her. Like anyone who has a lot of CC, like I was saying, Freya, but like everyone almost has that now. So it's hard to say it's a counter to just Valk. It's just a counter to most damage dealers in general. At the end of the day, it's my overall assessment of Valkyrie is that almost like A plus to S minus tier hero. Like just because I think there are one or two heroes that are definitely for sure better, but other than that, this hero is really good. Can fill multiple roles, which is a huge bonus to me. Really reliable with the heal that like automatically triggers, and as an alliance hero gets great talents. Um, really good hero, guys. Like I'm gonna eat my words as Watchmen comes up. I still think she's the best alliance hero in the game. Um, for now, and I would recommend anybody who pulls her to build her, and congrats on the pull. Other than that, thanks for watching the video, guys. I'm hoping that this series continues as I learn through all the heroes again. I'm starting with the ones that I know a little bit and then building into the ones that are brand new to me. Like, you have to remember, I haven't really played the game. I've been logging in daily but not doing very much since like even when Ball got released, I still was like, I built him to 10 star, but I didn't really use him as like, I wasn't really playing the game at that point. I just had saved up so many resources that I could 10 star him. So I haven't really played the game since even before Ball release, which is crazy. But I'm getting back into it now, and special thanks to everyone in my Discord, like who's like kept playing and talk to me in private messages like, hey, this is how the game is going. Shout outs to the main like community Discord with all those guys like Bold and Dev and everybody on there who have stuck around for so long and have helped me understand the game. And also special thanks to Happy Pat. He's been helping me learn these new heroes and was like telling me I should make some videos, and I agreed with him. So this is a big contribution from him. He has been helping a lot. Other than that though, stay tuned for the next one. I think it'll be Lorelei, and see if you guys can catch my stream. I'm going to stream again. I don't expect a huge turnout or anything, but maybe I can show you guys my like heroes I've been building and like my backpack, and we can go through that, and I can ask you guys some questions, and you guys can ask me some questions about some new teams I've been trying out. Anyway, enjoy your Halloween, guys. See you later.